McKenzie, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. It's a pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So who are you and what is your business?
My name is McKenzie Davenport. I opened Davenport Bookkeeping just over 2 years ago. We're located in Tiffin, Ohio, and we specialize in small business accounting, tax, and payroll.
Awesome. So can you go into a little bit more detail on those services so people understand, like, obviously, I don't know how much detail you can go into on it because, like, accounting, it can be accounting, but just specify a little bit more in detail what all those services mean. Yeah.
So typical accounting from the average accounting office is just an overview of finances, and they kind of give you an idea of what your tax might look like at the end of the year. But what we like to do is go 5 steps further than that and actually help with the bookkeeping side of it. So all of our clients have a different level of care that we give, but from the most care of, like, we actually pay some of our clients' bills for the business. We give them weekly updates on where they are financially, monthly reporting, quarterly reviews, and then also the tax return. So that is like the most in-depth.
And payroll, right?
And payroll, yeah. So that's the most in-depth you can possibly do with your accounting. And then from there, we also do have some really small new businesses that we just do quarterly reviews for. Sure. And what that looks like is we just go through, look at their accounts, and kind of give them an idea of what the whole year might look like and make sure that they're prepared for what their tax liability might be.
And every business and individual has different situations that you need to, like, tailor your services to. So, like, being an all-inclusive, I guess, like, service provider, can you explain the benefits of being able to get your eyes on the full picture and not just like, hey, we need to do taxes, and it's like me last like 2 weeks of the year, and you're like, Sean, I'm gonna strangle you.
Yeah. So we see, on average, 95% of our clients that we talk to prior to the end of the year spend less money on their tax liability at the end of the year.
Okay.
And the reason for that is 100% of the time, people just don't know where they're at. And even if it's a business that is keeping track of their finances, if they're not projecting the tax part of that, you can know, like, hey, my business is going to make $33,428 this year. But you also have all these other things that you can factor into that affect your tax liability. So even as a business owner that is really adamant about knowing what their numbers are, there's still ways that you can save. And one of the things that we see a lot is even with individuals who are projecting to get a refund, everybody's always happy if they get money back.
Of course.
But what we want to look at is that as much as you should be getting back.
Okay. Because
we did have a client a few years ago that came to us, and she wanted to file separately from her husband. So we didn't have any of her husband's information. We put her in, and she was supposed to get like $3,000 back on her taxes. And she was like, I'm good with that. And I'm like, okay, but what if I told you could get $8,000 back? Just by adding your husband?
Sure.
And she was like, how?
Yeah.
Well, there's credits that you just can't qualify for if you file separately. So stuff like that is what we look at. We could have very easily just given the tax return back to her. She would have been happy with $3,000.
Right.
But who doesn't want $5,000 more from the IRS?
Yeah. Right. So, like, is it the tax code that that allows you to be able to provide, like, that service to get people more money? Is that, like, the knowledge side of it, right? Like, what did you study or learn to, like, know all this to be able to provide great care for your clients?
Yeah. So it's a little bit of the knowledge, but most of it's just experience in preparing the return. So when we prepare a tax return, we can see everything that factors into the numbers that we're ultimately coming up with.
Sure.
And so when we do a return and we don't see what we normally do, that's what kind of raises the question of what's wrong here. What
like,
can we
where's
do
the missing puzzle piece?
Yeah,
pretty much.
Exactly.
You're like kind of putting a puzzle together.
Exactly.
Kind of like the mortgage side of things. Like, I'm constantly just like taking information and trying to build a nice, pretty puzzle for people. And I feel like taxes are pretty, and in accounting, because you got balance sheets and spreadsheets and everything like that too, and that can get all messed up just by like one column off. So I took a few accounting classes in college and be pretty proudful of that. It's a pain in the ass. To have someone like you for a business, on, one, not only that you like care about their business and care about, how much money they don't have to pay back or do get back on their taxes, and just like their month-to-month progression over the course of the year and everything like that is like a huge benefit for somebody, especially a small business owner who, let's be honest, as a small business owner, you're wearing all of the hats pretty much. And so to be able to take like that burden of a very like specialty, service, but like you said, it's like the knowledge, right, that of the experience per se, where a small business owner might not have that experience. And they can do their taxes, but it just might just get done and not be as best as they can be. We see accounts come in January, February that just want us to do taxes, and they're new clients to us, and we just do a general overview of their accounts, and most of the time they're very good. All the accounts are set up accurately, their loans are tied out, like everything looks really great, but there's always things that you can do as a business owner to lower that before it gets to the end of the year. Right.
There's certain rules that you can factor in. I won't go into too much detail about them, but like there's the Augusta rule where you can rent out your house to your business tax free. There's paying your kids is a huge one that people don't think of. Mm-hmm. And when you wait till January or February to give me your numbers, I can't tell you to do that anymore. It's too late. Sure. So all we can do is plan for the current year. Right. But we always wish that we could have helped them before that, because I like to look at what it could have been if we did this, just to show them. Yeah. Sure.
For sure. That's like a good sales strategy. Yeah. Like, hey, this is what it could have been if you worked with me.
Yeah, exactly.
You didn't, so now start. I like you mentioned already a few, situations where you helped people, but like we're in the same BNI chapter and just a referral group in town, and I just love hearing people helping people, and especially when it comes to like money, because let's face it, you can only make so much money, whether it's your job or if you're self-employed, in a year. There's only so many hours in a day, and when it has to be pretty like satisfying to go from, hey, I can give you a $3,000 return, but here's an $8,000 return. Like, do you like, what drives that passion? Like, that has to make you like feel pretty good.
Yes. I don't really, honestly, my mind says I want to do for my clients what I would do for myself. Okay. So, if I was able to get $5,000 more, I'd do everything in my power to get that. Right. So why wouldn't I do that for my clients? Someone else. Sure. And especially because I have the ability to help with that stuff, and the average person doesn't know any of these tax rules. Sure. They don't know how their return is calculated, right, or what percentage it is at all. Oh yeah. So we have just that. The ability to help is just really huge with me, and I love to be able to help people, and it's exactly what you said, money is everything to a lot of people, right? And if we can help people's financial state be a little bit better, then we will.
Yeah, absolutely. So what were some of the initial challenges of starting this business, right? Because your business, how long have you been open?
2 years.
2 years. So it's a fairly new business. You're probably still figuring things out at this point. So what were some of the initial challenges? And then talk to us some about the challenges of just, working with so many different numbers and so many different people and things like that.
So initially, I think one of my biggest struggles was I was working a full-time job when I started my business, and I didn't have the ability to leave that position. Financially, I had to keep that job until I was at a point with my business that I could leave. So that really kind of burdened me a little bit with not able to go out and network with people, because when I was at my full-time job, that's when everybody's businesses were open. Sure. So to be able to go in and introduce myself to business owners, I couldn't do that. Yeah. And then also being so young, I feel like I share this with my sisters who run Groomer's Corner and Corner Feed and Seed. I share this struggle with them of people like, are you old enough to know what you're doing? Yeah. Especially when I'm dealing with money. Right. And people's livelihoods almost. Sure. because people work so hard for their business. And I know that now. I worked so hard for mine.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do everything in my power to keep that surviving. And so I want to do that for my clients too, but they also have that fear of like, is this the right person to help me with this?
Right.
So I feel like a lot of my clients come after I've put in so much time building that relationship with them, and then they're like, okay, I think I'm ready.
It is weird, that like you just get to a point with an individual and they're just like, okay, now I trust you.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, I lead with like, I don't know, I want to get all mushy gushy, but like love and trust just like off the rip, because I feel like I can kind of have a pretty good like judge of character per se, like and so I kind of like know when to not be super open and when I can be open and stuff like that. And to get that on the flip side where you're trying to help someone and you're like, I can only help you if you want me to help you, sort of thing.
Yep.
Like I can't force you to let me help you, sort of thing. So do you is that kind of a similar thing?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that a lot of times the people that need my help sometimes can't afford it.
Yeah.
So I struggle because I'm the same
help?
way.
Yeah.
I just want to help everybody. And
Yeah.
so I come in and I'm like, okay, I'll work with you for 4 months.
Yeah.
Like I'll cut you a really good deal for 4 months. And then once we get you where you need to be, this is what we have to do.
Sure.
And a lot of the times that's what builds that trust with them. They're like, this person actually wants to help my business. They don't just want my paycheck.
Right.
And that's huge for small business owners. It's just, everybody's just trying to survive.
Yeah, literally.
So
yeah, if I could tell anybody that's out there right now struggling, so are we. So it's fine. Like owning a business, being on the entrepreneurship, building relationships, wearing 10,000 hats, being mentally tough and strong and getting through the low times, like that, it's life. That's part of it. And like, I don't think that's something that's talked about enough. And, like just be open and honest about it. Like everybody has struggles, or we're all human.
Yeah.
So, but, can you give us any other specific examples, maybe particularly, like rewarding client success stories that you really like turned somebody's business around?
Yeah. So I started working with one of my clients in July of last year. And he was new to hiring employees. I met him and I think he was similar to you, where he was just like, he led with love and grace. And I was like, this guy's like all in, and I don't even know him.
Right.
And it was awesome. And he's become one of my best friends since then. But, when he started hiring employees, he was at a point where his business was making a bunch of money. And I'm like, we need to do something with this. Like we projected at the end of the year when we did his tax projection, and he was going to owe $43,000.
Holy shit.
And I was like, that can't happen. He's like, no, it can't. I said, would you rather pay $43,000 to the government or pay $50,000 to yourself?
Sure.
And to your business.
Yeah.
And he was like, you're right. So we set up a plan. We added some vehicles to the business. We paid his daughter. We did like a remodel
too.
Yeah, she's very deserving.
She's in the office working.
Yeah. Very deserving. And remodeled the office, got some new furniture, hired a couple more employees.
Yeah.
And I said, when you run a business and you're this successful, a lot of times people just want to take all that. As the owner, they're like, oh, look at all this money I'm making.
Sure.
But this specific person, he just wants to give back.
Yeah.
And this is why this is one of my favorite clients and one of my favorite stories ever. Well, I did his tax return at the end of the year, and I was jumping up and down in my office because he owed under $10,000.
That's awesome.
And he really only paid out about $30,000. So he still paid $40,000, but 30 of that stayed in his business and in his family.
Right. So
that's just like the best example that I can give of like, even if you're making a lot of money, we don't want to give it to the IRS.
Yeah.
We want, and they don't want it. They want you to invest back. That's why they allow you these options.
That's why they make the rules. And right.
because as long as you're following them accurately and not putting yourself in a situation where you're going to go to jail.
Yeah. Which you keep people out of jail,
yes.
hopefully.
You can do that and you can still make a lot of money for yourself and your family, but also give back and
sure.
And still succeed. He now, since July of last year, he now has 6 employees and then his daughter is still doing stuff. So yeah.
For sure. Yeah, I know the individual that you're talking about, and he is a giant teddy bear and just wants to give back to the community and spread his knowledge and help as many people as possible.
Yeah.
And that's probably why he's so successful, because he literally just loves what he does and cares about his clients at the end of the day. He doesn't care about the money.
Not at all.
Obviously, because he was like, what am I going to do? McKenzie, help me. But anyways, we'll move on. So younger business. Give us kind of like your background. You said that you were working a full-time job before you opened your business. So, what advice would you give to someone that's looking to start their business, or someone that might be even younger, that coming out of high school or graduating college, that, some tips, just general tips that you would give someone that's a young entrepreneur?
My biggest tip is going to be make sure you have the time to dedicate. Because when I started my business, I was working 8 hours a day at my full-time job, and then I'd come home and I'd work for another 4 or 5 hours every day.
Sure.
And then on the weekends too, just to try to drive business. And it's obviously rewarding now, because now I can leave at 4 o'clock and not touch my computer for the rest of the night.
Right.
But for a good year and a half, that's all I did was worked.
Yeah.
And what got me through that was the support that I have from my family, my husband, and all of my friends, and ultimately my clients. Because, my clients that I got early on knew that I was still working full time. So they were very patient and graceful that, we realized that we can't get a hold of her in the middle of the day.
Yeah, right. Just, oh no, my QuickBooks isn't working. McKenzie, help me. I can't. I'm at my desk at work right now.
Yeah. Yep. So that's been hard. But, my sisters bought their 2 businesses the same time I started mine. They were my first client.
Sure.
And it was, that was the first thing that they said when they were thinking about purchasing it was, what are we going to do? Yeah. And I said, well, I just decided I'm going to start this business. So let's work together.
Yeah.
And, so it's been really cool and really, really rewarding to grow our businesses kind of together.
Sure.
And, having that support from them and my family, and really, I can't thank my husband enough for what he put up with and still puts up with. Tax season is no joke. If anybody talks to any accountants.
Yeah. I think I even drove by your office at like 10 o'clock at night a few weeks ago, and I was like, Mackenzie's still actually it was even on a weekend, I think, and it was like in the evening, and I was like, well, it was the end of the tax season, so I understand why, but I was like, damn, she's out there grinding it out.
Yeah. You have to. I mean, the IRS allows you to do extensions, but we try not to have to do that.
Sure.
We try to put in as much as we can to not have to do that.
Yeah.
Just because, if people are getting money back, I don't want them to have to wait for that.
Right. That too.
So, but yeah, it's very hard to start it, but once you get there, it's so rewarding.
Sure.
I would not turn back.
Yeah.
I'm so thankful for having this business and being able to help so many people, and also to have the flexibility during the off season that I have.
Yeah.
We still work all year with accounting and payroll, obviously, but not to have to push for the tax deadlines and stuff. It's nice to just be able to say, you know what, I'm going to take the day off.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people can't do that with their full-time jobs.
And your husband owns his own company too, right?
Yeah. They just started an insulation business specializing in spray foam.
Yeah.
So, it's going to be a whole family of entrepreneurs.
Right?
It's really cool. And
yeah, it's really neat to see.
It's super fun.
And I guess if you have that support system and kind of like proof of concept, like if your sisters can do it, and if I can do it, like, why can't you do it? That sort of thing. Or I don't know, like I would always try to like push my close friends if they really wanted to, like, teetering back and forth. I'm like, well, I want to start this, but I don't know. I'd just be like, just do it.
Yeah.
Like, again, like we talked about with your sisters too, just kind of like, we're all young enough that even if you fail in 3 years, you're still young enough to go out and find another thing to do.
Yeah.
Or a different interest, or, try something new. And even older people, I think, like if you really, really, really are unhappy in your life and want to do something new or different, like maybe not take a bunch of risk out, get yourself into debt or anything like that, but, like start doing something on the side, and, when you can fully commit to it. So, been talking a lot today, so bear with me.
I will say one more thing about advice. If you are going to start a business, leaning on other people is huge. I feel like the first year in business, I was just like, I can do it. I can do it. And after I hit a year, when I joined the BNI group and I met, somebody that does insurance, somebody that does investments, somebody that does this and that. Sure. I'm like, I don't need to do it all.
Yeah.
Like, right. I have all these people that I can just give a card out and know that they're taken care of.
Yeah.
And I think that's huge, because a lot of times people think, I own the business, I have to do everything.
Right.
When that's not true.
Yeah.
You just have to do what you're good at.
Yep.
And then let your team, the rest of your team, take care of it.
Yeah, I really like that, actually, that advice. That I'm big on like knowing your strengths and weaknesses, and then being able to go all in on your strengths, and then being able to delegate your weaknesses.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of business owners want that like control, or like I can just do it, or like I can do it better even, or you don't know what you're doing. And it's like, take the time, find that person that you can train, and find their strengths, and be able to, like I said, delegate those things that are holding you back pretty much. And I would agree. I can't do everything. Nobody can do everything. Mm-hmm. And finding the right people and good people to surround yourself with, and being able to take those things kind of off your plate obviously helps, building those relationships and networking and making those connections and things like that are obviously very important to do it as a business owner, to get business. But then also, once you're a business owner, to just like surround yourself with like good people that usually turn out to be like your friends and then down the road, So I love that advice. Thank you, McKenzie.
Yeah, I feel like my friend group shifted when when I hit a year in business, and then I started meeting all these people that have the same drive and have the same like goals as me. Sure. Of what they want their businesses to look like in 5-10 years. Yeah. And it's just a whole different atmosphere of people at that point. And I'm like, I'm in the right spot. I just know I'm in the right spot.
Yeah. That was, when I decided to become self-employed, it was a really hard struggle for me to be like, okay, well, I'm in student loan debt. I studied criminal justice, and now I'm just going to like give it up to go do mortgages. And it was like one of the hardest things that I had to make that decision on. And like you said, I'm not turning back. There's no way.
Yeah.
And I think I've always had a drive, but I think I finally found my avenue of my passion is helping people. And I just found that avenue of helping people. And I think if you focus on that, on what your passions are and how you do your passion, everything just kind of falls into place.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
So obviously you're part of BNI, but you do a lot of things in the community as well. So how does Davenport Bookkeeping integrate community support into its business operations?
Oh, wow. So we try to be as involved as we can. The community of Tiffin does an amazing job getting everybody together for events and, the ribbon cuttings that the chamber puts on, and
which we missed one today.
We did.
Sorry,
Tony. Yeah, ribbon cutting at my office.
Yeah, I know. But I picked a different day.
That's okay. So we'll make it up to her.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like, it's so easy when you're involved in a community like that. They make it so easy to feel loved and feel supported, and also give you so many ways to give back.
Sure.
So it's like, I don't even have to think about it.
There is so many things. It was a bit overwhelming too, because then you just get like invitations to do stuff all the time. And like as a newer, person to the community, or like a young business, you're like, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that. I'll do that. And then it's like, oh shit, now my business is picking up. And it's like, I got myself into too much stuff. And then you got to like pull back and, a little bit. But it's a great community. Previously, before I decided to work for Motto Mortgage and get involved in the community, I was doing business out of like Florida and Michigan, but I was living in Tiffin. So really, I would say I'm a fairly new member of the community as a business member. And for the last 4 months, I've literally felt nothing but like support and love. And it's just like you call somebody up and you're like, hey, I know so and so. Do you want to have a conversation? They're like, I'd love to. And it's like, wow, that's easy.
Yeah. Like you didn't have to call 6 times.
Yeah, 6 times, or beg them just to meet with me or anything like that. And that's why kind of Allison and I decided to stay here, because it was like everything made sense and everything fell into place, and now here we are. So awesome.
Yeah, I think my husband tells me all the time, one of my biggest not really a flaw, but one of the biggest struggles in our marriage is I always say yes to everything. And I always want to help people. Yeah. So I'm like always doing something for somebody else, and he's like, you never have time for me. Yeah. So
I'm pretty guilty of that as well.
Yeah, it's been
I really
a very
love
hard
helping people, and I'm about to have a baby soon too. So I've really been trying to shift my mindset the last like month or so on about that. Because I will literally help.
It's
anybody.
Hard though.
It is.
You say yes, and then you're like dedicated to these few things. Yeah. And then when you get busy, you still have to do that things. Stuff. And you're like I volunteered to help with Reach this year, and then tax season happened, and I was like, and I didn't do as much as I wanted to with them. Sure. And so it just kind of like, it comes back to you feel bad for not being able to give your 100% focus to that. Yeah. Volunteering and
like we volunteered for Seneca CEO this year, and could only imagine in the middle of like busy tax season having to like wake up and go to a meeting at 7:30 in the morning like that. You probably worked until like 1 a.m. the day before. Yeah. And it's just like, which that's an awesome program. Seneca CEO is a program that allows juniors and seniors in high school to experience how to start a business and become an entrepreneur. Very cool. I think Seneca County is one of the first counties to implement this program, and it's over all of the schools in the county too, which I think is awesome. It's not just one school that's doing it. And so I'm excited to see where that goes. But the mentorship was fun, and I think we have their last event coming up here in a few weeks.
Yeah, they're doing like a business pitch.
Yeah, business pitch. It will be, and then they're graduating and they're off. Yeah. But anyways, bring it back to your business, not anybody else's business. So, what are your asks for the community or for business owners or anything like that? That we're just started the month of May, so we're almost halfway through the year. Started the second quarter about a month ago. What would you tell business owners that might be in a position where they can't do everything, and now it's time to look for someone like you?
Yeah, so I offer free consultations to all my new clients. So if anybody just wants to have a conversation about their current financial state, sure, and just get some advice on what could happen if we worked together, that those sessions are free. And then we try to make the process as easy as possible, especially with people who are coming from other accounting firms. We don't like to necessarily like go out and try to get those people. Sure. But ultimately the goal is to make sure the business owner is comfortable in their finances. And if they're not getting that attention that they want from the other firm, then I think it's fair for them to make a change. Because like we said earlier, ultimately your business is what you work for. Yeah. And so if you're not getting what you need from your advisors, sure,
and that it's not just accounting or bookkeeping. I mean, that goes
everybody,
across any service, anything, really. You know, like if you're on the fence, like it's okay to switch. You know, like at the end of the day, it's business. So we hate to see, telling someone, oh, well, I'm going to somewhere else, or, like, I'm not going to use you anymore because I'm unhappy. But like at the end of the day, if you're unhappy, it's time.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I agree. So, obviously our goal is to never have that happen to us.
Yeah.
But we just want to make sure that any business owner in the community is taken care of,
Sure.
whether that be with us or another firm. I know there are some really good accounting firms in Tiffin, and I know people that work for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so free consultations if you just want to review and just kind of an idea of what the pricing might look like. It's different for every client depending on what you have going on and what needs you have. So that's something special that a lot of places don't offer. We look at your exact stats and that's how we price it.
Yeah, you like tailor your services to their needs and their goals pretty much. And that's awesome. Yeah. That's what I do in my mortgage business.
Yeah.
You got to stand out,
Yeah.
But, and then, are you still doing like the tax tip Tuesdays stuff?
Yeah, so we took a little break. The end of tax season got a little hectic, and we just took a couple weeks off. But
so if anybody's just looking for like general information, they can find you on like Facebook, and they can kind of like watch some of your videos and maybe grab a few tidbits off of it.
Yeah, so our tax tips are on Facebook, and then we're also going to be adding them to our website.
Nice.
Starting next week, we're going to start back up with them, and then they'll be on our website as well.
Awesome.
And then we also have like our calendar link on the website and Facebook page for anybody that wants to schedule appointments.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We'll link everything in the description for you, so it's just nice and easy for everybody. Well, McKenzie, I appreciate your time today, and your sister's allowing us to use their space for your podcast. So obviously I'll see you next week. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.